So what I want to do is talk a little bit today, the learning objectives. Before we dig into those, I want to talk a little bit about what you might have heard of as Web 1.0. There's a lot of discussion today and this weekend, especially about Web 2.0, Twitter and social media. And so I think it'd be good to take a step back and take a look at Web 1.0, which is websites and Google and that whole ecosystem. So learning objectives for today based on that are understand the steps to take to get your office online, how to check and correct your Google Places listing, and finally how to use Google Analytics to measure your website performance. So the question is, why be online? And do we really need to answer this? Online is where our patients are. Online accounts for 33% of all media consumption, which is why our newspapers are getting smaller and smaller. 75% of internet users research health online. We all know that. Digital media offers you the ability to target, engage, and interact and measure. And the internet is about increasing your exposure and building relationships. This is best accomplished by providing them, meaning the visitors to your website, et cetera, with easy to find, high quality information that is timely, relevant, and responsive to their situation. But where do you begin? And that's usually the question of the last 15 years that I get a lot. It's that we have a website or we don't have a website, and we have email or we don't have email. We have a variety of things that a variety of people have put in place for our office. So what is a framework that can help us understand where to begin with Web 1.0 and get organized? And so to do that, I propose this graphic. So what we consult with people is that on this wheel, we call it, they start here in purpose and goals. And they actually take a step back and figure out, okay, what is the purpose or the goal of their website, of their online presence? Only that, it's amazing how many people say the purpose is to have a website. And that is not a good purpose. And so we need to work through what specifically is the purpose or goal of having a website. And then once we've answered that question, we can move into this development side, which is broken up into three areas. Design, which is graphic design, look and feel of a website or web presence. The content, what information are we making available to our visitors? And then any functionality, like pay my bill, et cetera. And of course, as we build that out, we're keeping the purpose and goals in mind. Once we have that built, then what we want to do is move into, and I like to think of that whole section as building our mousetrap that's going to help us achieve our goal. Once we have our mousetrap built, then it's time to send the mice. And so we do that, of course, by marketing that website. And marketing, I also break into three major areas. Traditional marketing, like the newspaper, radio, et cetera. Search marketing, most notably Google, and of course social media marketing. So once we do that, and we've driven some mice to the mousetrap, then it's time to measure and course correct. This is something that very few website owners and very few practices that have websites do. Just taking a look at, okay, this was the plan. Did we execute on it? Did anybody sign up? Did anybody make an appointment? Did anybody get educated with the website? And so putting measures in place to be able to see what happened and then make any course corrections. A lot of times that course correction may be that we need to reevaluate what our purpose and goal is. And then, of course, we start again, around and around, and it never ends. So, let's see. So purpose. Let's talk about purpose for a second. Before we do anything, we need to be clear about what we want our visitors to do when they get to the site. What is the purpose of your website? One possibility might be to generate new patients. Now, I've talked to a lot of people this weekend that say that's the last thing I need. I've got more patients than I can handle. And so that might not fit for everybody, maybe for a new doc or a new practice. But certainly that's a possibility. Another option might be to educate patients or the community at large. It's laudable. Another might be gain efficiency. So how can we use a website to gain efficiency? The simplest version I can think of is we can let people download their forms on the website instead of waiting till they get to the office and filling out all those forms, a copy of them could be available on the website for download. Build community. Perhaps, the practice, or over and above the practice, there's, the interest on the practice part to build some kind of community around a cause or an item. And then, of course, those are just a couple that come to mind, but right off the bat, there could be many. There could be many purposes for a given website. And the truth is, there are usually more than one. There are usually multiple purposes for a website, but in the context of this talk and Web 1.0, what we need to do is start with the most important one. And so just for purposes of example, let's say that it's generate new patients. So I'm going to write down generate new patients is our purpose. That doesn't mean that you can't go back and take a look at the others, but you need to focus, or else it becomes a big confusing mishmash of what we're trying to accomplish. So on this line, presumably I'd write generate new patients. Okay, so we've got our purpose down. Next is target audience. So, okay, what kind of new patients? Young, old, I could write kids, and I could write geriatrics, and I could write different disease states, et cetera. And so all the possible new kinds of patients we'd like to have, and then we'll refine that list down again until we come up with one target audience for new patients. And so for purposes of my example, I'm going to say kids. Actually, I'm going to change that. Since we're in Myrtle Beach, I'm going to say vacationers. So let's say that we're building a website, and the goal of that website is to generate new patients, and it's to generate new patients from people who are vacationing in the Myrtle Beach area. All right, so we've got that nailed down. The next thing we need to think about in this whole purpose and goals area is just a fill-in-the-blank kind of exercise. So if a target audience, and we said vacationers, was searching for, what's the purpose of our website, was searching for a pediatrician, let's say, because they're kids, what would be some of the search terms they would type in Google to try to find that? So if I was vacationing with my kids in Myrtle Beach, I'm the target audience. What would I type in Google to find a pediatrician? General Pediatrics, Myrtle Beach, pediatricians, kids doc, probably, yep. Depending on what my kid had, I might actually type in the disease, whatever their issue is. Okay, great. So I'd write those down. And then armed with that information, I'd be able to move to the next step, which is design, function, content development. So what we want to do is we want to make it easy for the visitors to determine, when here I am, a stranger in a strange land, we want to make it easy for me, once I get to your website, to determine what I do. Okay, they're a pediatric practice. And might even put something on that site right off the bat that talks about how we specialize in vacationers or can help people that are visiting town. How you're different from other practices, why they should contact you. From a usability standpoint, we want to make sure that it's easy and intuitive to navigate. And basically that means we want to give them the least amount of steps to find what they need, maybe the phone number right off the bat. We, of course, want it to be educational, engaging, and we need to optimize it for natural search rankings so that it comes up in Google when people type that in. So that's our design side of the equation. And of course, we're looking at this design not because our spouse likes the color blue, but we're looking at, which is the way a lot of website designs are selected, but because we are trying to solve the specific goal of generating new patients from vacationers in a pediatrics practice. This is a quick website self-assessment. If you have a site or if you are thinking about building a site, here are some questions you might consider. So is the website address easy to spell.com? And, obviously, the easier it is to spell, the easier it is to find. And I say .com because no matter, even if you're a nonprofit organization or an internet organization, and you could technically be .org or .net or you saw a commercial for the .biz or the .cc's, everyone types .com after whatever it is. And so after we've given them a short name like jason.com or myrtlebeachpediatrician.com, actually that's too hard to spell, myrtlebeachkids.com, let's say. .com is what everybody types in, even if they're reading it off. I've seen usability tests where the address is right in front of somebody, myrtlebeach.biz. They sit down at the computer, they type it in, they just put in .com. So you always want to own the .com version of your domain name. Based upon the website purpose, audience, and keywords, the look and feel convey the message we want it to convey. We talked about that. The design, look, and feel is less than 2 years old. Now, in this specific case, vacationers from out of town, it's going to look new to me. But in general, you should get a new website design once every 2 years. You should freshen up the look and feel of your website. Specials, features, what's new sections exist on the site and are updated regularly. How many of us have been to sites where the latest news was dated 2002? Every day. So I see that. So, so some kind of a section that shows that there's fresh content on the page and it's been updated recently. Does the website have an effective call to action? You know, in our example, the call to action should probably be call us. Call us now. Does the website offer online payment? Certainly certainly a convenient option for patients. Does the website allow the visitor the ability to make a connection with the owner and/or staff? I can't overstate that. It's really important that they see a picture of the people that they're going to see when they get to your door. They can be beauty shots. It doesn't have to be, you know, they can be good shots, but actual pictures of staff and docs. Address, phone number, and hours are present on every page of the website. So most websites have a contact us page where of course the contact us information is listed, but you want to make sure that information is listed either at the bottom usually, but somewhere on every page of that website. Does the website have a mobile-friendly version? So I don't know how many people have smartphones, but on the websites that I work with, and that I'm tracking the statistics for, about 10% of all website traffic is coming from iPhones, smartphones, and so a huge number of people, and that's, you know, and that's on the rise. It was 5% 6 months ago, and so, and of course, as more and more people get phones like this, more and more people are on the web, searching and looking for what they're, you know, what they need. You know, another example is, for instance, at the hotel here. I can pay for internet access and get my laptop connected, or my phone is always online, and I can, you know, quickly get to what I need without negotiating signing in to a paid service. So for all those reasons, people are more and more on their phones, and you want to make sure that your website looks correct on their phone. Does the website have a join our email list feature? That's really a bonus. That would be a nice to have option, but essentially a place where existing patients can give you their email address and agree to get emailed from time to time news about the office or important announcements. So those are 10 things you can use if you have a website, or 10 things you can use if you don't have a website and you're looking to do one. And so as we move into that marketing side of things, this is a graphic that I like to use a lot. Basically, what this shows is in the center is that your website is the hub of all your marketing efforts. There's a statistic out there that says that 81% of all purchase decisions are researched online first. And so if that's the case, then even if you're running newspaper and radio and traditional media ads, those are, and they're effective, they're going to lead people to research you more online, where they can presumably read more information about you on your website. And so if your website is in fact the hub of your marketing efforts, I've got your website right here, feeding traffic to your website is of course the search engines like Google and Yahoo, mostly Google. Google represents about 60 to 80% of all search engine traffic. Paid search and banners, you can buy banner ads on various sites like Google. They would generate traffic. Email marketing, if you send out an email blast to your patients, they would generate traffic back to your website. Social media, like I know you're going to talk about this afternoon, would generate website traffic. Mobile devices, offline media like TV, radio, and print. And even if you just list your website address in your ads, people are coming to the site as a result of that. And then, of course, word of mouth. And so if you're getting 100 website visits every month to your site, which would be extremely low, but if, let's just say for a round number, that's important to know, but it's also important to know where did it come from. And so what I like to recommend is that you devise some kind of a chart like this that says, yes, 100, but 50 came from Google, 10 from social media, and 40 because we sent out a big email blast. And it's really interesting to look at the first month that you do it, but it becomes valuable after you've done it a couple months in a row, and you can compare the differences. Why is it up from Google this month or down from somewhere else? And then the last part of this equation that's important, a lot of people focus on just how much traffic they've got to their website. So what I'm saying is take a step back and see where it's coming from. I'm also saying take a step forward and saying, great, 100 people came to the site. How many of them converted? How many of them, in our example here, how many of them were vacationers that found the site online and called to practice as a result of this website? So how do you measure that? In that example, and in a lot of examples lately, one of the best ways to measure that is with a tracking phone number. And essentially, they're very easy to get if you Google tracking phone numbers. You can find about 100 services out there that'll put that you can quickly, put that in place. But essentially, it's a phone number that you put on your website and nowhere else. Not in any of your other advertising, not on your cards, nowhere else but on the website. When somebody calls that number, it just rings at your office as if they had called your office. It just passes the call right through to your office line. So you don't have to work with a phone company. You don't have to. It's completely done online. And so the benefit is that as a result of that, that pass-through keeps track of how many times people have called that number. And so at the end of the month, what you can add to your statistics here is, okay, 100 people came to the site and 10 of them rang through the website tracking number. And therefore, we got 10 people at least to the front door, even if the front door is the phone, as a result of the website. Again, it's interesting the first month, put it together for a couple of months and see calls go up or calls go down. Then you have some information you can work with. This is an example of Google search for pediatrician in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is probably what I would search for. And so Google, I want to just give you kind of the anatomy of a page here. The Google search results page is broken into 3 categories. Paid search results, which starts, in this case, right here. These folks are paying to be under this search term, pediatrician in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. They don't pay until you click on their name. So if you go home and you search and you want to charge, cost somebody some money, just click on one of these ads, and they get charged from Google. Only when they click. So 1 million people could search for pediatrician in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but if only 1 clicks, then this practice, well, let's see. This site is probably a best example, would only get charged for 1 click, which ranges, it depends on how popular the word is. It ranges, it could be as low as 20 cents and as much as a couple bucks per click. So one way, if I was a practice to make sure that a vacationer could find me quickly and easily, would be to go to Google and to buy myself onto this page. Come up after there's 5 or 10 search terms that we talked about at the beginning, just buy them. Just go to Google and buy them. And you'd be right up there. So that's one section of Google search results page. The second section of Google search results page starts right here on this page, and this is what we call Google's organic results. And there are 342,000 organic results, and this is the traditional search engine results that everybody is familiar with. Because of keywords or information on this website, it got indexed by Google, and it is coming up high on the list, which is everyone's goal, just to naturally, organically come up high on Google's list. The problem is, if you're a new practice or if you have a new website, you are not even in the you're 342,001. And you've got to start the process of trying to climb your way up that list, which is a months to years to maybe never process. And there's no guarantee. There's no way to go to Google and say, what do I do? There are hundreds of people, thousands of people out there dedicated to figuring out what that algorithm is, but it's a secret. And so there is no way to for sure get there. Some people are lucky and get right to the top. And of course, that would be for one search word. The algorithm changes if we said kids doctor in Myrtle Beach instead of pediatrician, then you're talking about a different algorithm. So I'm trying to sound gloomy about the possibility of being high in Google's organic results, because it is a really long process, and most people don't want to wait the time to get up there. So that's the second. It should always be a goal, but it's not realistic to happen very fast. And then the third and final results on a Google search results page is called Google Places. And it starts with Little River Medical Center here. And the way you can tell it's a Google Places listing is because it's got these little flags that correspond to the location on the map. And so you've probably all seen these in Google search results. So this is Google's answer to the yellow pages. And if you in this case, we're searching for pediatrician in Myrtle Beach. If your practice is located in Myrtle Beach, then you have a right, to go to Google for free and claim your places page. Essentially, claim your place in their yellow pages. Interestingly, a lot of GPS systems use Google Places as well. And so there's another, if I'm not searching on my phone, maybe I'd use my GPS to search for a pediatrician. And so if I fix it in Google once, it fixes it in both places. So none of these practices, I checked them all before we started, have actually claimed their, Google picks up some of this information from a phone book, from the original phone book, but none of these folks have gone in and said to Google, hey, I am this practice, let me make some updates. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So it would be worthwhile to, if when you're working on this project, to do some of these searches, see if you come up in the Google Places area. It's free. You just have to prove to Google that you legitimately belong there. Now, one interesting thing about this is I don't know what the name of a town is that's right outside Myrtle Beach. North Myrtle Beach wouldn't be a good example. Anybody, a town? Little River. What is it? Little River. Okay, great. So yeah, and they're there. So now their address is Myrtle Beach. Maybe they have another location in Little River. Does anybody know anything about this practice? Okay. Perfect. So that's why they're showing up in this search result list. Now, what's that? Okay, great. So Google knows, Google is going to go through a verification process to make sure that you actually physically exist where you say you do. So so for instance, if I was a practice in Little River but not in Myrtle Beach, even though I probably would have patients that come from Myrtle Beach to my office, I could not show up in a pediatrician in Myrtle Beach search. It would be very difficult, I'll put it that way, without a lot of help. So what I'm saying on this Google Places is terrific unless unless you are located in a town right outside of where the population is and everybody searches for Myrtle Beach, but really they're including Little River in their minds. And then you won't come up because people don't search for Little River, they search for Myrtle Beach. And so it really has to do with where you're actually physically located. That's the only drawback to Places. If you're actually physically located in a good, in a good search term, like I assume Myrtle Beach probably is, then you're good. I've actually seen people so frustrated with that situation that they go to the main town, the Myrtle Beach, where they're not located, buy a P.O. box, establish like an address at that P.O. box, and then submit that to Google and say, look, we're located in Myrtle Beach too, and sometimes that works. I don't know how Yeah. There is a way, when you claim this page, there is a way to say like what, if what's your surrounding areas are. It still doesn't work as good. I still come across a lot of people who are frustrated because they're 1 mile outside of the main search target town and can't get in those search results. Sir, you good? Okay. Okay, so that's kind of the anatomy of a Google page. 3 main areas. Pay-per-click is what this one's called that you buy, organic, and places. And this is me doing it again, actually, so we just went over that. So if I click, actually, let me go 2 slides back. So the way to claim, if you are coming up in here, what you want to do is claim your place. And to do that, you would, in this case, Little River would click on these 2 Google reviews. They would click on that link. Or this place would click on the place page, and when they do that, they're taken to a page that looks like this. It's essentially a mini 1-page summary of the practice according to Google. And so when you get to this page for your practice, if up in the upper right-hand corner it says business owner ? That means that this page has not been claimed for your practice. Nobody at your practice or you have not gone to Google and said, hey, I am the principal, and I, can speak on behalf of this practice. And you should. Because when you do, Google essentially recognizes that you're interested in your information on Google and its validity, and you get points for it. You get points not only in places, but in organic as well when you update that information. And usually there's information that needs updated. Usually there's something not quite right about the basic facts that they have. The other thing is that's also the opportunity for you to say what surrounding towns you can pull from. Again, it might not come up in the search result, but at least it's a start. You can start to augment their listing. So if you're in Google Places, you click on the place page, and this is here. You want to click this. What it'll do is it'll start a verification process. It'll take your phone number on file that they have on file, and a machine will call that number. So you want to try to do it, either before hours or after hours, so that you're the one that picks up the phone. And a computer will read a code over the phone. You plug that into the page you're on, and it verifies basically that you're legit. If that can't work for some reason, then they'll send you a code in the mail to this address that they have on file, and then you plug the code in at that point. There's no charge. Yep. And the reason is because Google is of course they're making so much money on the ads, but they want it to be good information as well. And so they're willing to give this kind of phone book level information away for free. I think secretly they know about this small town thing too, and they figure that eventually you'll buy some ads for the surrounding areas. The other thing is a lot of people say, hey, that's great, I went back and I did this search and I'm nowhere in this list and I am in Myrtle Beach. Now what do I do? It's not on my slides, but you go to the website places.google.com, places.google.com, and you can start the process basically of saying, I'm nowhere in your phone book, and so list me. Really important for regional stuff. For generating regional traffic. It doesn't do any, if you're selling something that's a product that people can order nationwide, this isn't very valuable. But for, vacationers in Myrtle Beach looking for a pediatrician, it's golden as far as traffic. And it's interesting, if you do that, if you do my traffic slide that says how much traffic's coming from Google now, and then over the next, couple of weeks or months, fix your Google Places page, you'll see the increase in traffic to your site from Google. Okay. Another thing, and then one more thing related to Google. I should be on payroll with Google, I think. But so indexed in Google. So for organic, the question is, okay, great. That Places is wonderful. Buying ads, I understand. But what if I do want to go ahead and give a shot getting at the top of the 372,000 results for Myrtle Beach Pediatrician? That means that you need Google to index your site. The way to tell whether Google has indexed your site already or not is to go to Google and type in the word SITE, short for website, colon, and then your website address. When you do that, I did it for an ice cream shop. When you do that and hit enter, it's either going to say nothing, which means your site's not indexed by Google, or it's going to give all the pages that Google has looked at and a short summary of the page. So if you have one or two results here, but your website is a 20-page website, it means there's some work to do to get Google to those other 18 pages. If you're not here at all, if you scroll to the bottom of any Google page, there's a Submit My Site button, and that's a good starting place. Social media is next. Sort of if we go back to, we're in the marketing phase. Social media is definitely here to stay, and it's an important thing to figure out, and so stay tuned. The next couple sessions really focus on that. Measure. This is one of my favorite quotes. That which is measured improves. That which is measured and reported improves exponentially. And so what you want to do is make sure that you have Google Analytics is a free statistics package that whoever's working on your website can install on your website, and it just gives more information. It gives tons of information. Of course, all the basics like how many people came to my website, but what are the most popular pages, times of day, what kind of computer are they on. Now, it won't tell you who they are. There's no way to get their name and email address automatically. The only way you can get that is if you put something on your site like join our email list. But it will give tons of information, where they came from, et cetera. So you want to make sure you have, that there are other stats packages out there, but in the last couple of years, Google Analytics has become the default. Not to be confused with Google Search. Of course, it's all Google, but Analytics is different than Search. Analytics is a code, is website code that's in the background of your website that tracks statistics about activity on your website. And then, like I said, tracking phone numbers. They have been really valuable, so I highly recommend those, especially if you have a goal like this. Okay. Here's an example of a Google Analytics dashboard. It's going to say how many people visited the site day by day, the duration of their site, which may be a good indicator. One really interesting stat that people are always interested to learn is what we call the bounce rate. And so a bounce is somebody came to your homepage and left. They just came to the first page of your website and immediately left. That's called a bounce. And so on average, can anybody tell me a guess what the national average is for bounce rate across all websites? 70%? Anybody else? 90? It's actually 50%. 50% is the national average. And so when I'm working with people, if their average is below 50%, I pat them on the back, or me on the back. And if it's above 50%, it's something we need to work on. And by work on, I mean we need to figure out what we can do on the homepage to draw them deeper in, because you can't put everything on the homepage. And so what can we do with either graphics or text or information that will draw people deeper into the site? So bounce rate is something that Google Analytics will track. Of course, it visits by traffic type, so organic. So this is telling me people found me on the search, 53% for this site, whatever it was, found me from organic listings on the search engines, 29% from referrals, and that means maybe a link from the SCMA website or, the Chamber of Commerce website, things like that. And then 17% just typed in the address directly. They saw it on my business card and they went to www.myrtlebeachpediatrician.com. Of course, where they're from, lots of unbelievable stats. So then, of course, what you want to do is make sure you get those reports regularly. Use that regular data reporting to reevaluate your course of action and make any changes. Sounds like it sounds, as I'm saying it, like a lot. It's really not. Once you get in a group, you can have those Google reports emailed to you automatically once a week, once a month, once whenever you want. You just look at a couple key figures and have a sense. So the world is becoming flat because of technology. Competition in healthcare is global. Your patients are online, and you must be there to greet them. Any questions? If anybody has questions later, I'd be happy to answer them. You can get me via email. Whoops, via email right there. Any general questions now? Yes?